Hello, my stamping friends. This is Renee Novak at blessedbycards.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, and I'm here today with a weekly Wednesday tutorial. Today, we're going to use the Blackberry Bliss card base, and we're going to add some of the Celebratory Sips Designer Series paper to create a fun card. So what I have is just the card base of Blackberry Bliss. And then what I have here is a strip of the Designer Series paper. And I cut this one at 4 by 5 1/4. And then I cut this one, I do believe this is 1 1/4. All the supplies and all the measurements will be available on my blog so you can know exactly what I used. But I took a little strip of that we're going to put on here. And then I have a few of these little strips here that I cut, and what I did was I cut this first to be a larger size, and then I cut them down to make a 1/4 inch by 4, and that fits right across here. It's just easier to get that 1/4 inch if you start out with a 2-inch strip and then cut down your 3 strips, and then you have this piece left. So that's how I got these teeny tiny pieces, and we are going to use those. And then out of the paper, I cut some of our wonderful glasses. Now this glass is a half of a piece that was cut off, so I just kind of hid it behind the full glass, and it doesn't even, you can't even tell that that's kind of a cut off. So you can use almost every inch of your Designer Series paper. And when I build up my things, when I'm using Designer Series paper, I like to use Scotch tape on the back so that it keeps my pieces in place, and then I can easily move them around to see where I want them. And so we're going to do a little bit of stamping on this. And then what I did is I took the larger banner from that nestled, it's not the biggest banner, it's the skinny, longer one. And that's from the nested dies. And I did run that through the Stampin' Emboss machine, and I cut it in half. And we're going to get a little kind of faux ribbon look with that. Okay, so let's get started. And we're going to take this circle here, is the 1 3/4 inch circle, and that is from the Stylish Circles. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sauce up my greeting, and this is from the Cheers and Sips, and this says, "Cheers, let's celebrate." I put that all on the same stamp, or I'm sorry, on the same acrylic block, and I'm just going to stamp that straight down, and that's going to get our little image that we're going to put on there. Okay, and that's how simple that is. So let's, ooh, almost knocked my camera over. Okay, so let's go with the base. And we're going to grab a little bit of our liquid glue. And again, you can use what other kind of glue you want. I'm partial to the liquid glue. It gives me a little time to put my paper down and move it around just a smidge if I need to. Okay, and so there is that. And then we're going to take the same paper, but we're flipping it over. And again, this is, I can't remember exactly what it is, but I started with a 2-inch, and I cut down my 1/4 inches. So I took 3 of those, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, and this is what I had left over. And then I have my drinks, and we have our little greeting. And if I had some Scotch tape, I do have some Scotch tape up here. So let me grab, it's just easier to keep everything in place. Grab a little snippet of that and put it right on the back there. Nobody can see that, but it kind of sets it in place, and then you can glue it down. So let's go ahead and glue these guys, and I've already pre-done those so they would be easy to go. And I'm just going to stick that right straight down on there. And then I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the back of this. And then we're just going to stick that greeting right down on there. I think I'll go right over here so that I don't have to cover up my little line in my... And you can use Stampin' Dimensionals to put the greeting on if you want. as well. So that is how stinking cute that is. So now let's do the inside. And for the inside, I'm going to bring these in, and I want to do the flowers, and then I'm going to put the green. And so I think I'm just going to put a little bit of glue just right along this strip. And it's already pre-cut to fit the, I'm just going to slide it right down here on the bottom. And then I'm going to do this one so that the green shows. And it's just going to go right down next to it. And then there's the last one. This one, I'm going to have the flowers showing. I'm just going to stick this straight down on there to make that stinking sweet. All right, now that's all on there. Only thing I need to grab are my paper snips. I like to cut my paper just a tiny, tiny bit bigger so that I can make sure it all lines up. And then I just flip it over and cut those pieces off. And you have the inside of your card ready to go. And then all we're going to do is just put a little liquid glue there. Get rid of my trash here. We're going to go right on the inside of that card, and you still have plenty of room to stamp something else or write your greeting. So there it is, our weekly Wednesday, and this is the Cheers and Sips stamp set and the Celebratory Designer Series paper. And if you don't like your cup sticking up, you can just add a tiny, tiny bit of glue and it will stick right down. Okay, so that is all I have for our weekly Wednesday. Thanks for joining me. Be sure to hop on over to my blog to get all the supplies and the measurements that you'll need to create this card. Thanks for watching, and until next time, be blessed.